On Vaticano this week, we witnessed the canonization of 7 new saints. Among them are 2 Americans, St. Marianne Cope and St. Kateri Tekakwitha. Participants in Vatican discussions about promoting the new evangelization finished their meetings energized. The Ratzinger Prize goes to 2 recipients this year. One of them teaches at Notre Dame. At the weekly audience, Pope Benedict XVI begins a series of catecheses for the Year of Faith. The Eternal City prepares pilgrims for visits during this special year. And finally, we hear from experts about the origins of the olive trees in the Garden of Gethsemane. All this coming up on Vaticano. Pope Benedict XVI created 7 new saints on October the 21st. Before Mass in a packed St. Peter's Square, he canonized them. That is, he recognized them as exemplary figures of holiness.
The Son of Man came to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. These words were the blueprint for living of the 7 blessed men and women that the Church solemnly enrolls this morning in the glorious ranks of the saints. With heroic courage, they spent their lives in total consecration to the Lord and in the generous service of their brethren. They are the sons and daughters of the Church who chose a life of service following the Lord. Holiness always rises up in the Church from the wellspring of the mystery of redemption.
Among the new saints were 2 American women. There was German-born St. Marianne Cope, a religious who, along with St. Damien of Molokai, cared for lepers in Hawaii. There was also the first Native American Indian to be canonized, St. Kateri Tekakwitha. Half Mohawk, half Algonquin Indian, she lived between present-day New York State and Montreal, Canada in the 1600s. She is remembered for her great faith and purity. The other 5 saints represented Europe and Asia. Many Mass attendees were there for St. Pedro Calungsod, the young Filipino catechist and martyr.
May the holiness and witness of the saints inspire us to draw closer to the Son of God, who for such great love came to serve and offer his life for our salvation. God bless you all.
Each of the 7 new saints thus enters into the Catholic catalogue of saints. The sainthood of Kateri Tekakwitha was a milestone for Native American Christians throughout the U.S. The canonization of the so-called Lily of the Mohawks was a very personal event for at least one American archbishop present.
You know, I'm the chairman of the Bishops' Committee for American Indians, so part of my reason for coming to Rome is to represent the bishops on that, the Bishops' Conference on that level. But growing up as an Indian, I've always had a devotion of Blessed Kateri, and the whole Indian community has been waiting a very long time for her canonization. So this is really a great moment of rejoicing for the Indian people of the United States. Back in the days when I was a kid, the Feast of the North American Martyrs was in September, on my birthday. And growing up, I thought since the native people of the New World had martyred those Jesuits, I should become a priest to take their place. So it was kind of an interesting relationship that I had with both the Indian community and with the Church. You know, very proud of my Indian ancestry, but also identifying with the missionaries to the Indian people. She was young, 24 years old when she died, so her Christian life was led rather intensely as a young adult. And so in some ways I think she would be a patron for young adults in the Church. She committed herself to a life of chastity, which is a great struggle for so many people in our culture, so I think she's a great example of that for our day. And in a unique way, she's an example to Indian people of the possibility of being wholly Indian, because she was wholly Indian, and wholly Christian at the same time. There's no contradiction between one and the other. The saints are the embodiment of what Pope John Paul II referred to as enculturation, which is the penetration of the gospel into a culture, and it transforms culture. The gospel penetrated her life and transformed her into a saint, and that kind of process is an ongoing process for all of us.
This man personally advocated for St. Tekakwitha's cause to the Holy See. Her canonization, he says, is without precedent.
The Church itself really presents one of their own identity as native Indians, as a model, as an example for a good Christian. And this is precisely an appreciation of the richness of the culture and traditions of the Indians. This is something that only the Church has done, and not even the government of USA or Canada, and that is very important for the Indians. Obviously, they present a model of a genuine native Indian who lived the normal life of a young lady in an Indian tribe.
St. Tekakwitha is the patroness of the environment and ecology. The 3-week-long Synod of Bishops for the New Evangelization has just wrapped up its meetings. It was an event to make reproposing the Catholic faith a priority amidst an increasingly secular global culture. This American archbishop sees the lessons of the Second Vatican Council as fundamental to the process.
First is the centrality of Christ in the new evangelization. The Synod Fathers have said over and over again that the new evangelization is about Jesus Christ. And the challenge is obviously to present Jesus, the real Jesus, to the people of our time. And together with that, and it was said here also, the participation of the lay faithful in the life of the Church, the vocation and mission of the lay faithful. And for me, that's one of the most important teachings of the Second Vatican Council. So it is, it's been very special just to listen to the Synod Fathers talking about that. I think it is important for all of us to have a new enthusiasm in the way that we know and practice our faith. As we are learning, I mean, we know and we are learning during these days, the Catholic faith has the answers for all the challenges of our society. As I said in my presentation at the Synod, the teachings of the Catholic Church have not changed. Society has changed. So we have to change our ways to reach out to the society in which we live. Beautiful traditions like the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament and the time of contemplation and meditation, that's very popular among young people. So we have to go back to that they feel how important it is, the Catholic faith for them. Or processions, or the rosary. Those little things that seem like old things are becoming again a point of contact with the young people of our time.
This man is in charge of the U.S. Bishop's Office for Evangelization. He's looking to act on what he has seen and heard in the last 3 weeks.
But the Synod Fathers have been very continually reaffirming. Benedict has always said, Pope Benedict, that really the new evangelization is not a program. It's really meant to be an encounter with Christ, first and foremost. It's an opportunity for every ordinary Catholic, Catholics in the pews, Catholics who maybe aren't in the pews anymore, to experience Christ anew, to really delve deeper into our faith, and from that experience of Christ, then learn how to share it with others. And that process of moving from experiencing Christ, deepening my faith, hopefully reconnecting with the sacraments, and then from that experience, going out to the world and really transforming the world through sharing Christ in our everyday situations. It's not meant to be something extraordinary. It's really an ordinary part of our baptismal call. As baptized Catholics, we have the grace to go out and share Christ, and now it's a matter of actualizing that grace into the world in our daily situations. The Committee on Evangelization and Catechesis has been talking about the new evangelization for years now, and it's been a gift to be able to bring that experience here to the Synod and to share and also learn from many of the other Synod Fathers. The committee will continue to, and many aspects have been affirmed, to how do we take the new evangelization, again, as a concept and bring it down to the parish. The parish is really a privileged place for that. And so how do our parishes become more and more a dynamic place where people can come and encounter Christ and then be empowered and trained to go out and share Christ with others. It's not really about just focusing in on ourselves and become a maintenance model, but really how do we go out and share that with others to the world. So it becomes really a mission that each and every Catholic feels the desire, not just the need, but the desire to go out and share Christ with others in the world. Again, it doesn't have to be extraordinary. It can be in the ordinary situations of life that are presented wherever we are. Doctors, lawyers, whatever we do, how do we bring Christ into that situation?
And that is the goal of the Synod, to share what is working to evangelize the world today and put it into practice. The Pope will write a document within 2 years called a Post-Synodal Apostolic Exhortation to help their cause as they return home. There, he will answer the questions that came up to personally encourage ways to promote the world's new evangelization.
Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano.
Among the many bishops, priests, religious, and lay faithful taking part in the Synod, there are a smattering of representatives from new Catholic movements. One of them says the new evangelization starts at home.
It's difficult, to meet people in which they can encounter this freshness of faith. And this is the opportunity that we have, that when we are living in the daily life, in the joy, in the relationship, in the neighborhood, we can meet everybody and we can be contagious of this Christian experience. If we don't have anything to transmit to them, to convey this newness, what is the reason? Why is reasonable to be a Christian? Christianity is interesting because it allows us to live the daily life, to face the challenges we have to face like human beings with another light, with another energy, with another meaning. And this makes life really different. And this is what we need to testify in front of everybody, in order that people who meet us can see why it's reasonable to be a Christian. What is the convenience, the quality, the trustworthy of the faith for life? The question I think most important is the generation of a new creature, of a new subject, because this is the question. Because after that the Word became man in the Incarnation, the only way of communicating Christianity is through the flesh, through a human being changed. And the question is how we can generate through the life of the parishes, the life of the movement, the life of the religious life, in every place of the church, how can the church can generate a new creature, according to St. Paul, a new subject in which people can recognize something useful for his life, something that is a light, a meaning, because you decide not to lose what you are in front of you, because all of us decided to get fulfillment.
Every participant has had a similar opportunity during the Synod to share their take on how the Church should approach evangelization in the years to come. Pope Benedict has awarded the Ratzinger Prize, considered a sort of Nobel of theology, to two academics. He gave it to the Jesuit Father Brian Daly and Professor of Medieval and Arabic Philosophy Remy Bragg.
People like Father Daly and Professor Bragg are fine examples of how to transmit a knowledge that unites science and wisdom, scientific rigor and passion for man, so that the art of living might be discovered. And it is precisely these two who, by way of an illumined and lived faith, make God close and believable to the men of today. We need this, men who keep their gaze fixed towards God, taking from this source the true humanity to help whomever the Lord puts on their path to comprehend that Christ is the way of life. They are men whose intellect has been illumined by the light of God, so that they might speak also to the mind and heart of others, working in the vineyard of the Lord, wherever they are called, so that the men and women of our times may discover and rediscover the true art of living. This was the great passion of the Second Vatican Council, which is more current than ever in the work of the new evangelization.
The award was given to them by the Pope himself, but the recipients were actually selected by a foundation in his name. This cardinal heads it.
Di solito le scelte che facciamo.
In general, the elections we carry out are inspired in two fundamental criteria. One is the scientific value of the person's work, and the other is the orientation of the authors. If their orientation is in line, at least in great length, with the thought of Joseph Ratzinger, and also naturally with a commitment and witness to the message of Christ. We found this in a very clear way in Brog and Daly. Father Daly is a truly prolific author who has worked for a long time in the field of patristics, the study of the Fathers of the Church, most of all from Bisanzio and other authors. Today he is a theologian in the complete sense, not just an academic of Church Fathers. He is interested in and committed to the real life of the Church, and in a particular way, to the daily ecumenism of the Orthodox Church in North America. It is a dialogue that we believe is of great importance and holds great prospects for the future. Also, Father Daly is a person with a very deep spirituality that sheds light on the great treasures found in the Society of Jesus.
The American recipient of the award said it's especially meaningful to put the focus on theology as the Year of Faith continues.
I think it's always a liberating thing to see the origins and the development of the things you take for granted. If you remember the time of the Second Vatican Council, and one of the forces that enabled people to begin looking at the possibility of renewal and reform in the Church was a movement that began in the 1930s. It's sometimes called ressourcement, kind of getting in touch with our sources again. And the motto in the 40s and 50s for many people was back to the sources, return to where our faith really comes from, to the Scriptures first of all, and then to the life of the early Church, early Christian liturgy, to early Christian theology, and also to the development of that in the Middle Ages and the time of the Reformation. And seeing theology as something alive, something that draws on its past but is constantly thinking about itself, enables us to continue that process with more freedom. People can see what's a newer edition, what's an older and more constant presence in our liturgy or in our faith, and can make decisions accordingly. So I think there is that liberating effect in reading the early Church. The second thing I think it brings is many of the people that we read as Church Fathers are really good theologians. They're highly sophisticated people with many different skills and different outlooks. They were not uniform, they were not homogeneous, but they present us with different approaches to making sense of the Christian faith in their own time. Some are better than others, obviously. Some are more worth reading than others. But I think if you read this great multiplicity of people and try to study at least some of them, you get a sense of how Christian faith forms and takes shape in the early Church, which can be inspiring for us too.
Pope Benedict said Christians often leave room for religious relativism since they don't often know the core of the faith. The core, he said, is expressed in the Apostles' Creed. Catholics must turn to it for guidance rather than risk building a sort of do-it-yourself religion.
Dear brothers and sisters, today's audience introduces a new series of catecheses meant to accompany the Church's celebration of the Year of Faith, which marks the 50th anniversary of the opening of the Second Vatican Council. The Year of Faith invites us to renewed enthusiasm for the gift of our belief in Jesus Christ. Jesus, Son of God, shows us the ultimate meaning of our human existence. Faith transforms our lives, enabling us to know and love the God who created us, to live freely in accordance with His will, and to cooperate in building a truly human and fraternal society. Our catechism will thus deal with central truths of the faith as expressed in the words of the Apostles' Creed. May the Year of Faith lead all believers to a fuller knowledge of the mystery of Christ and a deeper participation in the life of His body, the Church. Anche oggi abbiamo bisogno.
Also today, we need to make the Creed better known, understood, and prayed. Most of all, it is important for the creed to be, so to speak, recognized. Knowing, in fact, could be a solely intellectual exercise, while recognizing means the necessity of discovering the profound link between the truth that we profess in the creed and our daily existence, so that these truths may be truly and concretely, as they have always been, lights for the steps of our lives, water that quenches the thirst from our path, life that overcomes certain deserts of contemporary life. The moral life of the Christian is grafted into the creed, which in it finds its foundation and justification.
Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus.
Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano.
As the Year of Faith begins in Rome, the Vatican's Pilgrim Office has teamed up with the City of Rome and the Pontifical Council for the new Evangelization. This is to accompany pilgrims on their path of faith.
Today we just decided to present a series of initiatives that have been put together to help the pilgrim who comes to Rome or who goes on a pilgrimage during the Year of the Faith to be able to live a deep experience. We presented the kit, which is made up of a small backpack with a passport for pilgrims who want to visit different churches in Rome and even receive like a stamp before going to the Basilica of St. Peter's to be able to profess their faith. And we're trying to organize it in such a way that anybody who comes to Rome or goes to the Holy Land with the Opera Romana Pellegrinage can live a truly deep experience of faith, with the hope that the Year of Faith will become an occasion not only to renew our faith, but to open us to a new horizon of hope and to look towards the future with a great deal of hope, and above all, Christian with a Christian spirit.
There are many initiatives sponsored by the Pontifical Council for the New Evangelization. They are encounters of people from all over the world, catechists, men and women of culture, sick people. They are from all the different categories from within the Church, which is truly fundamental, because rediscovering the faith and finding their conversion, they can return home and become the yeast of their local churches.
What we do hope is that the Year of the Faith brings many pilgrims to the Holy Land, to Rome, and to all the religious shrines and sites in the world. But above all, it helps us to reconnect with the enthusiasm of being a Catholic, the gift of faith that we've received, and the community dimension of this experience of faith, because at the end of the day, we have to live our faith not only as isolated individuals, but as members of a community, which is the people of God that is on the way to the New Jerusalem.
The Annus Fidei, or Year of Faith, will be observed in the Universal Church until November 2013. Italian universities have launched an investigation on olive trees believed to have been alive in the Garden of Gethsemane at the time of Jesus. The universities of Pescara, Florence, Pisa, and Udine were all involved. They've concluded the trees are from the 12th century and in good health.
Our research has revealed so many results. Firstly, that the plants are doing well. Secondly, that they are all the same. They are genetically identical. And finally, we have seen that the age of these plants dates back to around 1150 or 1160. We didn't find any viruses, bacteria, or other parasites that might decrease their lifespan. The only aspect that we must ensure is the growth of the plants. There we don't have any problems stepping in with cost-effective methods, and the plants are reborn.
This priest lives in Jerusalem. There, he's in charge of protecting the Catholic presence as a so-called custos.
The research and the study that we did about the olive trees at the Gethsemane is very important. First of all, to understand the health situation of these trees, and also what to do in order to preserve these trees that are an icon and a testimony, witness of the history of the Church and the devotion of the Church at the Gethsemane. And also, this is also important presentation. They say that they have one DNA, one genetic code. It means they are coming all from one the same source, and also they say that these intervention of the humans, of the men in this place is very ancient, before more than 1,000 years. The life at the Gethsemane, the life in Jerusalem is fascinating and difficult at the same time. It's fascinating because we are living in the same place where Jesus lived, and the same places also. And also together with many different religions, peoples, cultures and traditions. This makes everything fascinating, but also difficult, because to deal with all these differences is not always easy.
According to the Custos, there are ways to help Christians in the region.
Holy Land is essential, is important for the Christians, because the Christianity is not a message, is not a theory, is incarnation, is history. There is no history without geography. There is no event without place. Holy Land is witness of the event of the history of revelation. It is important for us to touch and to be there, to have this physical connection and continue to say, as at the beginning of the Christianity, Jesus is risen, come and see the place where he was laid.
One needs to go into the garden to experience the emotions of what it feels like to work with these plants. It's a unique thing. Perhaps it is lost in the many photos we see of these plants.
This is just one of many projects to protect Christian heritage in the Holy Land.